Imagine a world where the television never turns off, where laughter is the constant soundtrack of your Sunday afternoon, and where money literally flies through the air in the form of little paper airplanes. Now, imagine the lights suddenly going out and the stage falling silent. That is exactly how it felt for millions of people when the news broke that Silvio Santos, the undisputed king of Brazilian television, had finally left the stage for good. It wasn't just a standard news headline, it was a tectonic shift in the culture. For decades, Silvio was the heartbeat of the country, and suddenly, it felt like the pulse of the nation had skipped a beat. The shockwave was heard around the world, leaving a massive, looming void that no one truly knows how to fill. You've probably heard plenty of stories about self-made billionaires who started with a small loan, but have you ever heard of a street vendor who turned a simple deck of cards and a loud, charismatic voice into a multi-billion-dollar media empire? We are diving deep today into the massive legacy and the complicated aftermath left behind by a man who wasn't just a TV host, but a living, breathing national monument. Since his passing, the internet hasn't stopped buzzing. It's not just about the mourning or the beautiful tributes pouring in from every corner of the globe anymore. It's about the frantic, whispered question that everyone is asking: what happens next? The Abravanel Empire is standing at a dangerous crossroads. And the rumors are flying faster than those iconic paper airplanes, the avionzinhos, used to fly into the hands of his adoring audience. Before he was the icon with that signature microphone famously clipped to his chest, he was just Senor Abravanel. He was the hardworking son of immigrants, hustling on the busy, crowded streets of Rio de Janeiro, selling plastic covers for documents. Can you believe that? He used to have to keep one eye on his customers and the other on the lookout for the police, ready to pack up and run at any moment. It's incredibly poetic when you think about it, right? He spent his youth hiding from the authorities while selling humble goods, only to eventually own the very airwaves that those same police officers watched every single night. That kind of grit and street-smart intelligence is exactly what built the foundation of the massive conglomerate we see today. For over 60 years, if it was Sunday in Brazil, Silvio was right there in your living room. He created a national ritual that completely transcended social classes and economic barriers. It didn't matter if you were watching from a luxury penthouse in the heart of Sao Paulo or from a humble home. You were laughing at his jokes, participating in his games, and dreaming of winning his prizes. But don't let the permanent glowing smile fool you for a second. Behind that charismatic and playful stage persona lived a sharp, shark-like business mind. This wasn't just a man who liked to talk to a camera. This was a visionary strategist who built a conglomerate of over 30 different companies. We are talking about massive household names like the Bau da Felicidade, the luck-based Telecena that millions buy every month, and the perfume giant Jequiti. This isn't just a TV channel we're discussing. It's a literal financial fortress. But now that the great general is gone, who is actually leading the army into battle? The transition of power actually started years ago, handled with extreme care behind closed doors. But the cold, hard reality of his physical absence is now hitting the SBT network like a high-speed freight train. This brings us to the biggest question of all. How does a family business survive when the business itself was essentially the patriarch's unique personality? Is SBT ultimately destined to be sold off to the highest bidder? Or can the Abravanel lineage actually keep the magic alive for another generation? The stakes here are significantly higher than any prize ever offered on his famous game shows. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. The future of this legendary empire is currently hanging by a thread, and the entire country is watching to see if the daughters can maintain the crown or if the kingdom will slowly start to crumble without its founding king. So, who exactly are the people holding the keys to this multi-billion-dollar kingdom now that the master of ceremonies has left the stage? This isn't just a story about a single man anymore. It's the high-stakes saga of the 6 daughters. You've got Cynthia, Sylvia, Daniela, Patricia, Rebecca, and Renata. Imagine the pressure. Each of these women holds a vital piece of the puzzle, but the billion-dollar question is whether they all truly agree on the vision for the future. It feels like a real-life drama, but with much more charisma and that unmistakable Brazilian warmth. Each daughter brings something different to the table, but will these differences create a powerhouse or a rift? At the center of it all is Daniela Beiruti. She's currently sitting in the big chair as the vice president of SBT. While her father was the face that everyone loved, Daniela is the strategist, working late into the night behind the scenes. She's currently tasked with the mission of modernizing a television channel that has thrived on nostalgia for over half a century. How do you keep the old fans happy while bringing in the Gen Z crowd that doesn't even know what a Buda Felicidade is? It's a tightrope walk over a pit of hungry competitors who are waiting for even a single stumble. Then, of course, we have Patricia Abravanel. Talk about the ultimate pressure. She didn't just join the family business. She literally stepped into her father's giant, iconic shoes on those legendary Sunday nights. Can you even imagine the nerves? Trying to replace a global legend like Silvio while the eyes of an entire nation are watching your every move and judging every smile. It's a bold move, and she's carrying that torch with an incredible amount of grit and a smile that mirrors the one we grew up with. But is charisma alone enough to hold onto the crown when the founding king is gone? Wait, because this is where the plot gets really juicy. There have been whispers for years about the internal dynamics hidden behind the brightly lit corridors of the CDT da Anhanguera, while the family always puts on a perfectly united front in public. Rumors suggest that the division of the kingdom was a meticulously planned, multi-year operation. We're talking about years of intense legal maneuvering designed specifically to avoid a public civil war after Silvio's passing. They wanted to ensure that when he left the building, the walls didn't come crashing down. They've been preparing for this transition for a long time, making sure every asset was accounted for. Now, have you heard the latest bombshell about Jequity? This is the tea everyone is sipping right now. There are massive rumors about the potential sale of the family's cosmetics giant. Jequity isn't just a side project, it's a massive part of their financial backbone. So why sell now? Is the family looking to liquidate assets to prepare for a future without the Silvio factor? Investors are circling like vultures, and the numbers being thrown around are enough to make your head spin. We're talking about a deal that could change the entire landscape of the Brazilian beauty market. If you look closely at the SBT schedule lately, you can see the evidence of this transition. The old guard, those classic faces we've seen for decades, is slowly being phased out. In their place, we're seeing a new wave of digital influencers and fresh faces. The SBT DNA is changing right before our eyes, shifting from traditional variety shows to something more modern. Some critics say it's a necessary evolution. Others say it's a betrayal of the legacy Silvio spent 60 years building. It's a massive gamble, and the stakes couldn't be higher. People close to the family whisper that Silvio left a guidebook or a series of instructions on how the network should handle his departure. Is there a secret vault with a break glass in case of emergency plan? It sounds like a movie, but with Silvio, you can never rule out the extraordinary. He was always 3 steps ahead, so it wouldn't be surprising if he's still directing the show from beyond. But navigating an empire of real estate, hotels, and banks is no easy feat. This isn't just a simple business transition, it's a high-stakes chess match where the entire legacy of a nation's favorite son is on the line. The fight for the brand is just getting started. As soon as the news hit the digital world, a social media firestorm unlike anything seen erupted across Brazil. Every celebrity, from soap opera stars to influencers, posted their tributes, but if you look at the comment sections, the real story is there. The public is worried. You see comments like SBT will die without him, or the daughters will sell it all to the highest bidder, and it's the end of an era, and the Brazilian audience is protective of this legacy. They aren't just viewers, they are stakeholders in this empire. They are watching the daughters' every move on Instagram with a magnifying glass. Every smile and every board meeting is being dissected by millions who feel like they've lost a grandfather. This scrutiny would make anyone nervous, but for the Abravanel sisters, it's just another day in the spotlight. Every fan wants to know if the essence of Sunday will truly stay the same. But don't think for a second that the competition is just sitting back and mourning. No way. This is the brutal world of show business, and the rivalry factor is at an all-time high. Giants like Rede Globo and Record are already moving their pieces on the board to capture the massive audience Silvio left behind. The battle for Sunday ratings has turned into a Game of Thrones style war. Without the king on his throne, every other network is trying to claim the crown. They are revamping their schedules, snatching up talent that was once loyal to Silvio and trying to fill that massive void. It's a fierce struggle for the hearts of a nation. This leads us to the billion-dollar question: to sell or not to sell? Rumors are swirling that big international media groups or even local billionaires are putting together proposals that can't be refused. Can you imagine a world where SBT is owned by a foreign conglomerate? If the network is sold, it marks the end of the last great family-owned media empire in Brazil. It would be a seismic shift that would change the face of television forever. The daughters have a tough choice. Do they keep fighting the uphill battle of running an independent media giant? Or do they take the massive payday and walk away into a very comfortable sunset? And what about the symbols? What happens to the avionzinhos, the iconic paper planes Silvio used to throw? Will they simply disappear into history? The public is demanding that the spirit of Silvio remains alive in every frame, but business is a cold game. Can Patricia Abravanel truly sustain the charisma required to keep the big advertisers happy in the long run? It is a massive gamble, but the stakes couldn't be higher. It's one thing to be a talented TV host, it's another thing entirely to be a legend who can sell anything with a single laugh. But don't count the family out yet. The future of the brand will look a lot more like a modern franchise. Expect to see more licensing deals, high-budget documentaries, and maybe even a Hollywood-style biopic. The family knows that the name Silvio Santos is a brand that can keep making money for the next 100 years if it's handled correctly. It's not just about a TV station anymore. It's about a legacy that transcends the medium. Finally, there is the mystery of his last words. There are whispers of a final recorded message or a secret letter tucked away for his employees. Is it a message of hope or a final command to sell it all? This mystery keeps fans up at night, wondering what the final wish of the legendary boss was. As the curtain falls, the first act of the succession drama is just beginning. Will the daughters keep the crown, or will the empire crumble under the weight of his shadow? One thing is sure, Brazilian TV will never be the same. This story isn't over. Stay tuned, because the legend is immortal.